All right, welcome back to Politically Homeless. My name is Dave, still searching for a political home. Someone said that I'm not allowed to do that because I need to stay politically homeless. A guy who I could hang out with politically is Dr. Ron Paul, one of the smartest men um, living commentators right now. He just is, in my estimation. Um, he's not a truther, and he believes that 9/11 was not an inside job, but he does believe that the U.S. government knew it was going to happen. This is what he said in 2014. He says, I believe if we ever get the full truth, we'll find out that our government had it in their records exactly what the plans were, or at least close to it. He believes that George W. Bush received at least one memo stating that Al Qaeda was plotting an attack on American soil prior to the attacks. Now, of course, everybody is going to debate the salacious stuff. Did we blow up our own buildings after the planes hit them? Because they looked like a controlled demolition. Building 7, what was up with that? That looked really bizarre. And then you had the architects who were wanting 9/11 truth, and they were talking about the temperature that steel melts and all these different things. And so there are all kinds of controversies built into this. The problem is we get so hung up on the conspiracy theories that we don't look into what really happened. Like, did our government instigate this? We have like 900 military bases all over the world, or 800. I've lost track, but there are too many. And typically, we surround a country and we operate out of those bases, and we immediately become almost like a listening device for whatever country. And say we're surrounding Russia, for instance, which we're trying to do with Ukraine and NATO and all the other countries surrounding Russia. Well, Russia pushes back and says, no, you're not going to do that. And then we have this war in Ukraine. We're not interested in diplomacy because we want to keep that war going, not only for the military industrial complex, but we want to keep it going because our country is prone to want to be this global hegemon. And I don't think that's happening anymore. I think BRICS, I think these other countries have decided that America is not a good bet anymore. Our currency sucks. And so going back to 9/11, even if we were fully responsible, and I'm talking about how the terrorists came to the country, we financed them, which is true, and then they successfully blow up these buildings. We have the planes flying into buildings. I know there are people out there saying now that that didn't happen, and they're trying to scrub all the footage of it. But there are several documentaries that have the footage, and hopefully somebody will continue to air these documentaries because people do need to see these planes flying in, so it doesn't become, well, there were no planes, the buildings just collapsed and they exploded and then collapsed. And there were thousands of people who witnessed this, and I don't know how you just discount all of that in order to make up something new. Now, if you want to make the claim that the buildings fell in a certain way and it looked very controlled demolition, I can support your arguments because it looks really bad. Then you got another building 7, wasn't really damaged that much, and that thing just comes tumbling down as well. So it doesn't look good for the government. It looks as though something happened after these terrorists went in. Now, were these terrorists patsies for what the government wanted to do? They did fly the planes in, and that was pretext for what would happen. And then not only did you have a war against terror, which is very generic, but then you had the Patriot Act. You had all these things that happened, and just really horrible for the country long term. We're still suffering from what happened on 9/11, and nobody has any desire to push back on this. Nobody wants to get to the bottom of whether or not our foreign policy was responsible for this. Nobody wants to get to the bottom of did we sort of expedite or enhance these terrorist attacks? Did we cover up some things? Did we do this to try to lessen the length of those visuals, those buildings that were burning? Did we think that this was better? I can't imagine that we would do that. But then again, we had this pandemic, and I believe that there were some equally disturbing things, and quite honestly, a larger loss of life associated with what we have been going through for the past 3 years. And the government doesn't seem to want to tell us the truth about that. So you can easily get to this point where a conspiracy theory sounds more plausible than what the truth probably is. And, I get hit all day long with different conspiracy theories, and then I get critiqued because I'm not going in, full strength on direct energy weapons, or I had somebody come on and then they're like, well, he's bought and paid for, or he can only say so much. He knows the truth. And then you just don't know what's true anymore. You start to question yourself, and everybody who comes on, you're like, okay, why would they not tell me the truth here? I think Dr. Ron Paul is correct, though, in saying that our foreign policy has led us to where we are now. Neocons will come along and tell me, but we need a strong defense. We need the strong USA to go around the world and police all of these countries. And I'm like, well, that's not what the founders said. Do you guys read the founders at all? They said not to go chasing monsters. I'm pretty sure that our current foreign policy would be an abomination in the eyes and ears of the founding fathers. And it's just sad that we're getting all of this revisionist history to come along, the Monroe Doctrine or whatever it's going to be. And I'm just like, no, people, no. This is why our economy is in shambles. This is why we're trillions of dollars in debt, because we spend like $1 trillion a year on the military, and we ramp that up even further for wars in Afghanistan and now the war in Ukraine. I know Nikki Haley said it was just a drop in the bucket, just a drop in the bucket. And the people still waiting for help on Maui, that's a drop in the bucket too. But we're sending the money to Ukraine, and we're sending a $700 check to the people of Maui. Just mind-boggling, completely mind-boggling. So on this day, which remembers 9/11, I think people should ask questions like, why did this happen? Did our government have something to do with it? Was the government there after the fact, making this look as though it wasn't the hijackers and it was, the American government being involved in this? And was it a combination of both things? Was it maybe like, okay, the genie's out of the bottle, so we may just make this worse or speed it up? That's very likely. I mean, maybe there's not solid proof of that, but those architects and engineers, they're pretty confident that the steel melted and it shouldn't have, and people really ought to pay attention to that. It's not a conspiracy theory to ask questions, all right? And this is what we're not doing. So on this anniversary, I would propose that we would change our foreign policy so we wouldn't tick off whoever to come and do. We don't want to create more terrorists, okay? Because a lot of people just think terrorists are there and they grow out of nowhere, and there's no impetus, there's no catalyst. Yet you can trace a lot of the terrorism back to a really dominant global U.S. foreign policy, which doesn't serve the world. It doesn't serve the country itself as far as national security. And it certainly doesn't serve the individuals who make up this country, who wonder each day, why are they sending money to this country again? So anyway, those are questions to ask. And you should probably go over to the Ron Paul Institute. And I'm pretty sure he posted a video today on this anniversary. He's one of the few people I trust when it comes to foreign policy. And, nobody is perfect, and some nuance is required when it comes to things like our southern border. I believe that is a national security issue, a direct national security issue. And most libertarians don't look at it that way, but some do. So I guess it's, a case by case basis or a person by person analysis. In any event, that's my little video over here on Politically Homeless. Please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.